Greek social dynamics changed dramatically as the Archaic period progressed, especially as communities approached 600 BCE. As a polis grew more prosperous, increasing numbers of citizens could afford the armor and equipment required to defend their community. Because the Greeks strongly believed that those who fought for the polis deserved a voice in how it was governed, the expansion of citizen armies gradually reduced the military and therefore political dominance of the aristoi. The aristocratic warrior, once central to Greek warfare, became a much smaller part of the battlefield, and the art of war began to change fundamentally. Tradition credits a man from Argos named Pheidon with introducing a new military system in the mid-600s BCE. Later accounts suggest that he used this innovation to defeat Sparta, one of the most formidable powers of the time. Whether or not the story is literally true, Argos is often associated with the early development of the Hoplite Phalanx, a formation that both strengthened the polis and significantly reduced the military importance of individual aristocrats. The new style of warfare relied on large numbers of heavily armed infantrymen called hoplites. Each hoplite carried a helmet, breastplate, greaves, a large round shield, hoplon, a short sword, and a long thrusting spear. These soldiers fought in tight, disciplined ranks, typically 8 men deep and as wide as possible, moving together as a single unit. The phalanx required absolute unity. Shields overlapped to form a solid defensive wall, and when the formation advanced, it became a deadly mass of projecting spears, a hedgehog of war, so to speak. If a man in the front rank fell, the soldier behind him immediately stepped forward to fill the gap. The system was devastatingly effective, and by the end of the 7th century BCE, nearly every Greek polis had adopted it. The effectiveness of the phalanx even shaped entire societies. Sparta, for example, reorganized itself into a permanent, highly disciplined hoplite state in order to maintain dominance and control its large enslaved population. Because men had to purchase their own weapons and armor, participation in the phalanx still depended partly on wealth. Yet, as Greek cities prospered, more citizens could afford equipment, meaning more men could fight, and therefore more men could demand political influence. The wider the phalanx, the more effective it was, giving further incentive for broader participation. The discipline required for this new warfare marked a sharp break from the Homeric tradition. Heroic individual combat, which had defined elite warfare in the epics, became dangerous and even destructive in phalanx fighting. Hoplites could no longer charge out for personal glory. Doing so would break the line and jeopardize the entire formation. Instead, soldiers had to advance, retreat, wheel, and turn in unison, often guided by the rhythm of a drum or flute. Each man's shield protected not himself, but the soldier to his right, making cooperation essential. Acts of individual heroism, celebrated in the Iliad, were discouraged as they threatened the cohesion on which the entire formation depended. The shift from individual to collective warfare mirrored the broader political transformation of the Greek world. The movement from aristocratic dominance to more inclusive, citizen-centered governance. The values and demands of the hoplite phalanx eventually spilled into the political life of the polis. Because hoplite warfare required the equal participation of every citizen in the line, it seemed only natural that every hoplite should also have a voice in the government. The long-standing principle in early Greek communities that anyone who risked his life for the polis deserved a say in how it was run took on new significance in this era. If all citizens fought shoulder to shoulder, then the polis had to ensure that all citizens were treated fairly. A man who felt mistreated or wronged might not perform his duty in the phalanx, and any weakness in the line could endanger the entire community. Thus, justice and civic equality became essential not only for moral reasons, but for the very survival of the polis. These themes appear constantly in Greek drama, philosophy, and literature. Yet this created a tension between old and new values. Homer's epics glorified the older aristocratic warrior code, the pursuit of individual excellence achieved through heroic combat. But the phalanx demanded a new ethic: equality, discipline, solidarity, and steadfastness in the face of danger. These values emphasized the collective over the individual. If a citizen insisted on acting differently from his fellows, he broke formation, on the battlefield or in politics. If he held the same rights and bore the same duties as other citizens, then his excellence had to be expressed in new ways. Greek society resolved this tension by redirecting the pursuit of excellence towards service to the polis. A wealthy man was not expected to flaunt his money by building a grand private residence. Instead, he should contribute to civic life by funding a temple, sponsoring a festival, or paying for public works. A talented poet should not compose verses only for aristocratic gatherings, but for the entire community at literary festivals. A sculptor should not devote himself solely to making statues of wealthy patrons. He should adorn public sanctuaries and buildings with his art. A man with athletic ability could no longer seek martial glory in individual combat, but he could represent his polis in athletic competitions and train its youth. Excellence, however, required competition, just as it does today. A community could claim superiority only by proving itself superior to others. Athletes competed for prizes, dramatists and actors competed for honors at festivals, and architects and artists competed for major civic commissions. This competitive spirit gave classical Greek civilization its distinctive character, a culture that glorified the polis itself. For this reason, the great monuments of Greek civilization are not the palaces of kings, but the temples, theatres, stoas, and public spaces built for all citizens. These structures reflect a society where individual achievement was celebrated only insofar as it enhanced the prestige of the community. As Aristotle put it, we must not regard the citizen as belonging to himself. We must rather regard every citizen as belonging to the state.